Have you ever felt tired for no reason? Not the kind of tired that sleep can fix, but the kind that lives quietly inside you. You wake up, you smile, you go to work, you talk to people, but deep down something feels heavy. You carry it every day. It's not a backpack you can see. It's not on your shoulders. It's in your heart. It's the memory of what went wrong, the dream that didn't happen, the voice that once told you you're not enough, the disappointment that you keep pretending doesn't hurt anymore. You move through life holding it all so tightly because a part of you is afraid that if you let it go, you will lose something important. But the truth is, the thing you are holding is what's keeping you stuck. Letting go is not about forgetting. It's not about throwing your past away. It's about setting it down gently and saying, "You've taught me enough." Because every pain, every failure, every broken moment was a teacher. But teachers are meant to leave when the lesson is done. If you keep them forever, they become chains. Imagine your mind like a room filled with old boxes. Some are full of fear, some of anger, some of guilt. You keep walking around them, tripping over them, cleaning around them, but never opening them. Letting go means sitting down, opening one box at a time, looking at what's inside, and finally saying, "Thank you. I don't need this anymore." Then you make space. Space for peace. Space for growth. Space for you. You don't have to do it all at once. You don't even have to be brave every day. You just have to begin. Start with one small thing. One small release. Take a deep breath right now and whisper softly, "It's okay. I can let this go." Notice how your body feels when you say that. The chest becomes lighter. The mind becomes quieter. The air feels different. That's not imagination. That's healing beginning. It takes practice to release what you've carried for years. But every small act of letting go is a victory. You can begin with your thoughts. When your mind brings back something painful, don't fight it. Just watch it pass like clouds in the sky. Say to yourself, "This is only a thought. It doesn't control me." As you learn to let go, your English can become part of the healing. Each sentence you read or speak here is simple for a reason. Because peace speaks in simple words. Every time you repeat them, you're not just improving your language, you're training your brain to think calmly, clearly, kindly. Letting go is not one action. It's an attitude, a quiet choice to stop fighting what's already over, to stop replaying what's already done. You can't change the past, but you can choose what you carry from it. And sometimes the strongest person is not the one who holds on the longest, but the one who learns how to open their hands. When you start walking without all that weight, life begins to feel different. The air feels lighter. The road looks wider. And slowly, without even noticing, you begin to meet yourself again. Not the tired version, not the careful one, but the real one waiting underneath all the fear and control. When you begin to release the weight inside you, something strange happens. The mind does not celebrate right away. It panics. It asks, "What will I hold now? Who will I be without my pain?" Because for so long, that pain became a part of your identity. It became your safety blanket. You thought that holding on made you strong, but really it just made you tired. Still, the fear of letting go feels real, almost physical, like stepping into a cold river for the first time. Your body tightens. Your heart beats faster. You want to run back to the shore of the familiar, even if that shore was filled with sorrow. This fear isn't evil. It's ancient. It's your mind trying to protect you from the unknown. The mind doesn't like change. It doesn't understand that freedom can feel uncomfortable at first. That silence after the noise can be scary. But that silence is where peace begins to grow. Fear is not a wall meant to stop you. It's a doorway asking you to walk through. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine your fear as a small child. It is not dangerous. It is scared. It is asking, Will we be okay? You don't have to fight it. You can comfort it. Say gently, yes, we will. The fear starts to calm because it finally feels seen. Most people try to kill their fear, but fear doesn't need to die. It needs to rest. You might feel fear when you try to speak English, when you try something new, when you decide to change your life. You think, what if I sound stupid? What if I fail again? But that fear is the same pattern that keeps you silent everywhere else. Letting go means you speak even while your voice shakes. It means you act even when your hands tremble. You don't wait to feel ready. You create readiness by doing. Think of fear like a river current. If you resist it, it drags you down. If you float with it, it carries you forward. You don't need to control the water. You just need to trust your ability to move with it. Life is exactly the same. The moment you stop fighting what you cannot control, everything starts to flow again. Try this small practice today. When you feel that tightness in your chest, pause. Put your hand over your heart. Breathe in slowly through your nose. Feel the air entering your body. Then breathe out through your mouth and whisper in English, I am safe to let go. Repeat it until your shoulders soften, until your mind stops running in circles. These small sentences may look simple, but they are powerful. You are teaching your nervous system a new language, the language of peace. The fear you feel is not a signal to stop. It's an invitation to grow. Each time you walk through it, it becomes smaller. Each time you face it, you discover something new inside you, a quiet kind of courage. Courage is not loud. It doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just whispers, I'll try again tomorrow. So as you take your next steps, remember this. Fear is not proof that you're weak. It's proof that you're alive and moving. It shows that you care, that you're stepping beyond the limits of who you were. And when you meet fear with calm acceptance, it slowly transforms into trust. Trust in yourself, trust in life, trust that you can handle whatever comes next. That's how letting go truly begins, not by forcing yourself to forget, but by learning to breathe through fear until it turns into freedom. And when freedom begins to flow inside you, everything you do, even the smallest word, the smallest choice, starts to feel lighter. When fear begins to soften, another shadow often appears behind it, the shadow of failure. It is quieter than fear, but heavier. It sits deep in the heart and whispers, remember the last time you tried? It reminds you of every mistake, every rejection, every dream that broke halfway. It says, don't risk it again. Stay safe. And because that voice sounds like truth, you start believing it. You begin to protect yourself not from danger, but from disappointment. You call it wisdom, but really, it's just fear wearing an older face. Failure has a strange power. It can make you hide from the world, or it can make you humble and wise. It depends on how you hold it. Many people carry their past failures like proof that they're not good enough. They replay them like a sad movie. But failure is not a scar to hide. It is a lesson written in pain. When you reread it with open eyes, it becomes your strength. Imagine a small child learning to walk. He falls 100 times. He cries, but he stands again. Why? Because he doesn't think falling means failing. He knows falling is part of learning to move. Somewhere between childhood and adulthood, we forget that. We start to see failure as the end, not as a bridge. Letting go means remembering that falling is still learning. It means removing the shame attached to trying. Say this slowly in English. I am allowed to fail. Feel the weight of that sentence. Most people never give themselves that permission. They expect perfection from a human heart. But no one grows in a straight line. Every tree bends. Every road curves. Every success was once a mess of mistakes that someone refused to hide from. If you ever feel ashamed of your past, look at it as a field after a storm. The ground looks ruined, but under the soil, the water has already begun feeding new roots. Failure is like that. It feeds you from the inside, if you let it. You may not see the growth yet, but it's there. Here's a small reflection exercise. Write down 3 things that didn't go as you hoped. Next to each, write one sentence. This experience taught me. You don't have to find deep meaning. Just notice something you learned. Maybe it taught you patience. Maybe it showed you what you truly want. The moment you find even a tiny lesson, failure loses its sting. It becomes a teacher, not a wound. Letting go of failure also means letting go of comparison. You might look at others and think, they never mess up like I do. But you only see their highlight reel, not their behind the scenes. Everyone fails in silence. Everyone carries private stories of almost giving up. The difference between those who rise and those who stay down is not luck. It's the decision to keep moving, even while hurting. So when the thought of failure visits again, don't fight it. Acknowledge it. Say, yes, I failed before, but I'm still here. I'm still learning. I'm still trying. That is victory in its purest form. The art of letting go is also the art of starting again, softly, patiently, without fear of falling. Each time you rise after failure, you build an invisible muscle inside you, a quiet strength that no one can take away. And slowly, the shadow of failure begins to fade, replaced by the light of growth. After fear and failure lose their grip, something deeper begins to show itself, the desire to control everything. You want life to follow your plan. You want people to understand you, respect you, stay with you. You want things to go right, one after another, in perfect order. You think if you hold everything tightly, nothing will fall apart. But control is a beautiful illusion. It makes you feel safe, but it slowly steals your peace. The truth is, control is born from fear. You try to control because you're afraid to trust. You think, if I don't do it, no one will. If I don't plan it, it will fail. If I let go, everything will collapse. But life doesn't work that way. The more you try to control, the more life resists. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the more it escapes. Letting go of control doesn't mean being careless. It means shifting from force to flow. It means saying, I'll do my best, but I'll also let life do its part. There's a rhythm in everything, day and night, rise and fall, give and take. When you trust that rhythm, you stop fighting the current. You begin to move with it. Think about the last time something didn't go according to your plan. Maybe you lost a job, missed an opportunity, or had a relationship end. In the moment, it felt like disaster. But months later, you saw that it led you somewhere new, somewhere better, or at least wiser. You couldn't see it then because you were busy resisting. But life was gently redirecting you. Control would have kept you stuck. Surrender helped you grow. Try this small mental exercise. Close your eyes and picture yourself holding a rope. At the other end of the rope is everything you can't control: people's opinions, the past, the future, outcomes, timing. Your hands are tight, your arms ache. Now imagine slowly loosening your grip. You don't drop the rope completely. You just let it rest in your hands. Feel the relief. Feel how your breath deepens. That's what letting go of control feels like in the mind. When you start practicing this, your language and thoughts begin to change. Instead of saying, everything must go right, you start saying, whatever happens, I'll handle it. Instead of saying, I need them to understand me, you start saying, I'll express myself clearly and let them see when they're ready. These small shifts create peace. Even in learning English, control can be a cage. You want every sentence to be perfect before you speak. You want to avoid mistakes. But control kills progress. Fluency grows through flow, not perfection. Speak imperfectly, live imperfectly, and you'll find yourself improving in ways control could never allow. The world moves even when you pause. The seasons change without your permission. Flowers bloom, rivers flow, stars move in the sky, all without control. Life doesn't need you to manage it. It just needs you to trust it. When you let go of control, something magical happens. You stop needing guarantees. You start breathing again. You start feeling again. The weight you carried from trying to hold the world together begins to lift. You realize that peace doesn't come from controlling life. It comes from cooperating with it. And in that cooperation, you discover a quiet strength, not the strength of power, but the strength of trust. The kind that whispers, "Whatever comes, I'll find my way." Once you begin to loosen your grip on control, you enter a strange space. It feels wide and empty at first, almost uncomfortable. You've spent so much of your life holding, planning, and fixing that when you finally stop, the silence feels foreign. This is the space between what is and what should be. The space where you no longer fight reality, but you haven't yet fully accepted it either. It's quiet, uncertain, and real. Here, the mind starts to ask, if I'm not controlling everything, what do I do now? The answer is simple but powerful. You learn to be. You learn to live in the present moment, not as an idea, but as an experience. Because the truth is, life only happens here. Not in the past you keep replaying, not in the future you keep chasing, but in this exact breath you're taking now. We spend most of our lives waiting for things to be perfect, for people to change, for the right time to come. But letting go means learning to live before the waiting ends. You start to find beauty in what already exists, even if it's not how you imagined it. You begin to see that peace is not in having everything right. It's in being okay when things are not. Take a look around you right now. The room you're in, the sounds, the light, the air. Everything you're experiencing is part of your life's real moment. You don't need to change it to feel calm. You only need to notice it. Awareness is the bridge between control and peace. The more aware you become of what is, the less you fight it. Try this small practice. Sit for 1 minute every day and describe your moment in simple English sentences. I am sitting on a chair. I can hear a bird outside. The air feels cool. My breath is slow. These sentences look small, but they're teaching your mind to stay here, not to wander into what-ifs. You're training both your English and your awareness at the same time. This moment practice helps dissolve the invisible tension between is and should. That tension is where most suffering hides. You say, "It should have worked. They should have stayed. I should have been better." Each should is a rope pulling you away from peace. When you drop the rope, you don't lose hope. You gain freedom. Reality doesn't always need to please you. Sometimes it just wants to show you. Show you what to learn, what to change, what to accept. Letting go means allowing life to speak to you without shouting back. When you stop arguing with the moment, you start to hear its quiet wisdom. It's in the quiet that you begin to see things as they truly are, not as problems to fix, but as lessons to feel. The space that once felt empty begins to fill with calm. The silence that once felt strange starts to feel safe. You realize that the world doesn't need constant improvement to be meaningful. Sometimes it just needs your presence to be beautiful. This is where real strength begins, not in doing more, but in needing less. The peace you were chasing was never far. It was just waiting behind the noise of should. And as you keep breathing here, in this gentle space of acceptance, you start to understand that maybe, just maybe, life is already giving you everything you need to grow. As the noise of should begins to fade, what remains is quiet acceptance. It doesn't come all at once. It arrives slowly, like morning light slipping through half-closed curtains. At first, you resist it. Acceptance feels too calm, too ordinary. You've lived so long in struggle that peace feels unfamiliar, almost suspicious. But acceptance is not giving up. It is finally understanding that life doesn't need your constant fight to be beautiful. When you accept, you stop demanding that the world obey your plans. You start seeing that things and people can exist as they are, even if they never match your idea of perfect. Acceptance is not the same as agreement. You can accept something and still wish to improve it. The difference is in your energy. Instead of pushing with anger, you move with clarity. Instead of saying, "This shouldn't be happening," you say, "This is happening, and I can choose how to respond." Imagine standing in the rain. You can shout at the clouds, or you can open an umbrella. The rain won't stop either way, but only one choice keeps you dry. Acceptance is that umbrella. It doesn't control the weather. It protects your peace. You can practice this gently. When something small annoys you, a delay, a rude comment, a plan that changes, pause for one breath. Say in English, "It's okay. I can handle this." You are training your brain to stay calm in motion. Each time you do it, you're teaching your nervous system that peace is possible even when life is not perfect. Acceptance also heals relationships. Many people suffer because they want others to act, think, or love differently. But people are not projects. They are mirrors. They reflect lessons back to us. When someone disappoints you, instead of asking, "Why are they like this?" ask, "What is this teaching me about myself?" That shift changes everything. Even in learning English, acceptance is powerful. You can spend years waiting to feel ready, or you can accept that mistakes are part of the journey. Every time you mispronounce a word or forget a phrase, you are still moving forward. Language, like life, becomes easier when you stop punishing yourself for not being perfect. Acceptance doesn't mean standing still. It means moving with awareness instead of resistance. When you stop wasting energy fighting what you can't change, you have more energy to change what you can. The heart becomes lighter, the mind clearer. You begin to notice joy in ordinary things, the sound of your breath, the warmth of your tea, the way light touches the wall. These small moments remind you that peace is not found, it is felt. You might still feel the urge to control, to fix, to hurry. That's normal. The old patterns don't disappear overnight. But now you have a new response. Instead of rushing to solve everything, you can pause and say, "Let's see what happens." Those 4 simple words hold the essence of faith. And as you keep living this way, something subtle shifts inside you. The same world that once felt heavy begins to soften. You start to see that acceptance doesn't weaken you. It strengthens you from within. Because when you stop fighting reality, reality finally becomes your ally. When you begin to live with acceptance, something inside you changes quietly. It's not dramatic, not loud. It's subtle, like the air after heavy rain. The world looks the same, but everything feels different. The tension in your chest starts to fade. You wake up and realize that you don't need to rush into fixing everything. You don't need to explain or defend yourself all the time. There is calm now, not because life has become easy, but because you are no longer fighting every moment. This calm isn't emptiness, it's clarity. You start noticing details that used to pass unseen. The way sunlight falls across your floor, the rhythm of your breath, the softness of your own voice. You begin to move slower, not because you're lazy, but because you've learned that peace lives in slow steps. You understand that not everything requires a reaction. Silence becomes your teacher. At first, this stillness might feel strange. You might think, am I becoming distant? Have I stopped caring? But you haven't stopped caring. You've simply stopped drowning in what you can't control. True peace doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means you feel everything but remain centered anyway. This calm doesn't mean you stop dreaming. You still want things, growth, love, progress, but now your wanting is softer. You don't chase, you invite. You don't demand, you allow. When you move from desperation to trust, life starts meeting you halfway. Opportunities appear naturally because your energy is open. In this new calm, you also begin to understand compassion for others and for yourself. You start seeing that everyone is fighting their own silent battle. The person who hurt you was hurting too. The person who didn't understand you was lost in their own fear. Compassion doesn't excuse their actions, but it frees you from carrying their pain. You let them go with kindness, not bitterness, because holding anger only poisons your peace. Here's a small practice to deepen this calm. When you feel anxious or impatient, close your eyes and name 5 things you can feel in your body. The weight of your feet, the air on your skin, your heartbeat, your breath, your presence. Then whisper, I am here, and that is enough. These words are simple, but they pull you back from the noise of the world into the center of yourself. Even your English practice can become a doorway to calm. When you repeat peaceful sentences, you are not just learning a language. You are learning a rhythm of living. Try saying softly, I am calm. I am learning. I am growing. Let each word sink into your breath. Your brain begins to connect English not with pressure, but with peace. In the calm after the storm, something beautiful happens. You rediscover your strength. You realize that peace is not the absence of challenges. It's the presence of inner balance. You don't need to prove yourself anymore. You don't need to win every argument, or be the best, or fix everyone's perception of you. You just need to keep your center. And from this calm center, your next chapter begins. One where action grows from peace, not panic. Where you move not because you must, but because you choose to. This is the power of letting go made visible. A quiet life that feels light, steady, and deeply alive. When calm begins to settle in your heart, you might notice a new kind of strength rising from underneath it. It doesn't shout. It doesn't need attention. It feels like a quiet fire, a steady warmth that tells you, you can handle whatever comes. This is the strength that grows only after the storm, the kind you don't find through control or perfection, but through softness and surrender. For most of your life, you may have believed that strength meant never bending, never crying, never breaking. But now you start to see that real strength is different. It is flexible, gentle, patient. It's not about hiding your feelings. It's about holding them with care. You can stand tall and still feel your pain. You can move forward and still have doubts. You can be strong and tender at the same time. Think of a tree in the wind. The strongest trees are not the stiffest ones. They are the ones that bend without breaking. When the wind blows hard, they move with it. And when the storm ends, they are still standing. You are that tree. Life's winds will always come. Disappointment, change, loss, uncertainty. But now you have roots of awareness and branches of trust. You bend, but you don't fall. In this stage of letting go, you begin to rely less on reaction and more on response. Reaction is fast and emotional. Response is slow and wise. When someone says something unkind, you don't explode. You breathe first. You remember you're calm, and then you answer, not to win, but to stay centered. That is true power, not dominance, but direction. Here's a simple exercise to build this inner strength. Each morning, before you touch your phone, look in the mirror and say one strong, clear sentence in English. I can stay calm in every situation. Repeat it 3 times, slowly, like a promise to yourself. You are programming your mind to choose peace over panic. Words repeated with intention become beliefs, and beliefs shape your behavior. This quiet strength will start showing in small ways. You'll notice that you recover faster from stress. You'll forgive more easily. You'll stop taking everything personally. And most beautifully, you'll stop needing to prove your worth. You'll understand that your value isn't measured by what you control or accomplish, but by how deeply you remain connected to your peace. When you reach this point, life feels lighter, not because it's easier, but because you are stronger in gentler ways. You begin to see that letting go never meant losing power. It meant discovering where your real power lies, not in holding on, but in standing calm while everything changes around you. And as that strength continues to grow quietly inside you, you start to see the world differently, not as a place to fight, but as a place to flow, to create, to give, and to live with grace. When that quiet strength becomes part of you, something even deeper begins to unfold, a sense of flow. You start noticing that life moves in rhythms, not straight lines. Some days feel bright and easy. Others are slow, uncertain, heavy. But instead of resisting, you begin to move with the rhythm instead of against it. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this moment asking from me?" That small change transforms everything. Flow is not magic, it's harmony. It's what happens when you stop trying to control every detail and start trusting that there's a time for everything. A time to begin, a time to rest, a time to wait, and a time to act. When you learn to listen to life's timing instead of forcing your own, peace follows you naturally. Think about a river. It never forces its way through the rocks. It moves around them. It keeps flowing, patient and steady, finding its own path. It doesn't hurry, yet it always reaches the sea. That's how your life can be when you live with awareness and trust. You don't have to push through every obstacle. Sometimes you just flow around it. The art of letting go turns you into that river, flexible, calm, unstoppable. When you flow, you learn to accept both movement and stillness. You stop needing constant excitement to feel alive. You realize that peace is not in the next goal, the next success, the next person. It's in your ability to be present wherever you are. Try this small exercise to experience flow. Take a 5-minute walk, but don't think of it as exercise. Walk without a goal. Feel your steps. Listen to the sounds around you: footsteps, wind, voices, leaves. Don't judge anything. Just notice. Then whisper softly in English, "I am part of the flow." This simple sentence reminds you that you don't have to chase life. You are already inside it. In this state, you begin to see that everything is connected: your thoughts, your emotions, your language, your surroundings. Even your English learning becomes smoother. You stop trying to memorize and start absorbing. You listen, feel, repeat, and grow without pressure. You realize that learning, like life, is also a flow, not something you conquer, but something you join. The more you live like this, the lighter you become. You no longer fight every delay or hold on to every plan. You begin to trust that when something leaves, it creates space for something new. The flow brings you people, lessons, and opportunities exactly when you're ready, not sooner, not later. This trust doesn't come from blind faith. It comes from experience. Each time you've faced something hard and survived, you've seen that life always found a way forward. Flow teaches you to remember that truth even when you can't see the path ahead. It reminds you that you are part of something larger, a rhythm that knows where it's going. So you keep moving, not with fear, but with quiet confidence. You no longer swim against the current. You let the current carry you, knowing that every turn, every pause, every wave is guiding you somewhere your heart will understand later. As you move deeper into flow, another truth begins to reveal itself, that uncertainty is not your enemy. It is the canvas of your life. For years, you may have feared the unknown, trying to fill every blank with plans and answers. You believed that if you could predict everything, you could stay safe. But life doesn't want to be predicted. It wants to be experienced. The unknown is not empty. It's full of potential. When you finally stop fighting uncertainty, you start to feel something new, curiosity. You begin to wonder instead of worry. You stop asking, "What if everything goes wrong?" and start asking, "What if it goes right?" That question alone can open the door to peace. Uncertainty is what makes life alive. Imagine a movie where you already know every scene, every line, every ending. You'd stop watching after a few minutes. It's the surprise, the mystery, the unfolding that keeps you awake. Life is the same. The parts you can't predict are often the ones that change you the most. When you learn to welcome the unknown, you begin to breathe easier. You start trusting your ability to adapt instead of depending on your ability to plan. And that's real confidence. Not the belief that everything will be perfect, but the faith that you'll be okay even when it's not. You can practice this mindset every day. When something unexpected happens, a delay, a change, a mistake, instead of saying, "This shouldn't happen," pause and say, "Let's see what this brings." Those 5 words shift your entire energy from resistance to openness. They turn chaos into possibility. Try this. Every morning, look at yourself in the mirror and say one sentence in English. "I don't need to know everything to trust myself." Let those words become your anchor. You don't need to know every detail to take the next step. You just need to believe that the ground will appear under your feet when you move forward. Think about how a bird flies. It doesn't map the wind before spreading its wings. It doesn't wait for certainty. It jumps, it feels, it adjusts, it trusts. You are not so different. You are built to learn as you go. Every uncertain step teaches you balance, strength, and faith. Even in English learning, uncertainty plays its role. You never know which word you'll forget or which moment will suddenly make sense. One day, a phrase you heard long ago returns to your mind, and you realize you understood it. That's how learning works, quietly, unpredictably, beautifully. When you begin to live with this openness, life feels less like a test and more like an adventure. You stop carrying the heavy armor of control and start walking with curiosity. You realize that not knowing doesn't mean you're lost. It means you're still alive, still exploring, still growing. The unknown is not darkness. It's a horizon waiting to meet you. And when you finally stop fearing it, you begin to see its beauty, the way it keeps your heart humble, your mind awake, and your spirit free. Once you make peace with uncertainty, you begin to feel something sacred awaken within you. Trust. Not blind, empty hope, but a deep, steady knowing that life, somehow, knows what it's doing. This trust is quiet. It doesn't shout, "Everything will be perfect." It whispers, "Even if it's not, I'll still be okay." Trust doesn't mean you stop making effort. It means your effort is lighter, cleaner, free from fear. You still dream, you still work, but you don't push from panic anymore. You move from faith. You don't try to force the flower to bloom. You water the soil, you give it light, and you trust the process. Because every seed knows its own time. Think back to the hardest moments of your life. At that time, you didn't know how you'd survive. You were scared, maybe even broken. But you did survive. Something carried you through, an inner force, a hidden strength, a strange kind of guidance that appeared when you needed it most. That's life's intelligence. You don't have to understand it to feel it. You just have to let it guide you. When you start trusting life, you notice signs everywhere. A person you meet by chance says exactly what you needed to hear. A door closes, and a better one appears a month later. Something you once lost returns in a new form. These are not coincidences. They're reminders that letting go doesn't mean losing control. It means dancing with something greater than control. You can begin to practice trust in small ways. When plans change suddenly, breathe instead of complaining. When someone disappoints you, remind yourself that maybe they're redirecting you towards something better. When you don't get what you wanted, say, maybe something wiser is waiting. Even if you don't fully believe it, saying it teaches your heart to relax. Here's a simple exercise. Before sleeping, close your eyes and say in English, I trust life, and I trust myself. Feel the words in your body. Trust is not a thought, it's a feeling. It's a softening of the shoulders, a deeper breath, a quiet mind that finally stops asking, what if? And starts saying, let's see. When you live with trust, you stop trying to carry the entire world. You understand that your job is to show up, to give your best, and to let life handle the rest. You become a co-creator, not a controller. You stop begging the future to behave and start believing that whatever comes, you will grow from it. Even in English, trust makes a difference. You stop fearing mistakes and start trusting communication. You speak, not perfectly, but honestly. You listen, not to reply, but to connect. And somehow, fluency appears naturally because you stopped forcing it and started trusting the rhythm of learning. Trust turns life from a battlefield into a dance floor. You no longer move stiffly, afraid to make the wrong step. You move freely, knowing that every step, even the wrong one, is part of the song. And once you begin to dance with life, you realize it's not about controlling the music. It's about feeling it. When trust takes root inside you, a new kind of freedom starts to bloom. The freedom of surrender. Not the surrender of defeat, but the surrender of peace. For the first time, you don't feel the need to fight every wave. You stop wrestling with why and begin to float with what is. You realize that surrender is not giving up. It's giving in to life, to wisdom, to the deeper rhythm that has always carried you. Surrender doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care without clinging. You still have goals, dreams, and responsibilities, but now they come from love, not fear. You no longer chase things to feel complete. You do them because you already feel whole. The pressure that once lived in your chest starts to fade. The storms still come, but you no longer drown in them. You trust that the same sea that stirs the waves also holds you afloat. Imagine standing on the shore, watching the tide. You can fight the water and exhaust yourself, or you can relax and let it lift you. The water knows how to carry you, even when you don't know how to swim. That's how life works too. Every time you let go of the need to control the current, you discover that it has been guiding you all along. You can begin to live this surrender in small ways. When you make plans, add this quiet sentence in your heart. This or something better. When something doesn't go your way, instead of saying, everything is ruined, try. Maybe this is protection, not punishment. Each time you surrender a little, life surprises you a lot. Here's a daily exercise. Once a day, stop what you're doing for 1 minute. Take a deep breath and say softly in English, "I surrender the things I can't control." Feel what happens inside you. You might sense resistance at first. That's normal. The ego loves control because it fears disappearance. But when you surrender, you don't disappear. You expand. You become part of something larger, something that moves through you instead of against you. Surrender is not passive, it's powerful. It doesn't mean lying down and doing nothing. It means acting from clarity instead of panic. It means moving with alignment instead of resistance. You still walk, but now the ground feels softer under your feet. You still speak, but your voice carries peace instead of tension. Even in language learning, surrender has power. You stop forcing perfection, and suddenly, fluency flows more easily. You stop worrying about sounding smart, and instead, you sound real. You stop memorizing words mechanically and start feeling them, because surrender opens not just the mind but the heart. The beauty of surrender is that it turns fear into faith, effort into ease, and struggle into trust. You begin to realize that you never had to carry everything alone. You just had to open your hands. The moment you do, you find that life has been waiting to fill them, not with what you demanded, but with what you truly needed. And when you start living that way, every breath becomes lighter. You stop rushing, stop grasping, stop fearing what's next. You walk through life with quiet strength, gentle faith, and an open heart. That is the freedom surrender brings, the freedom to live, to love, to flow, and to finally rest inside your own peace. When surrender becomes your way of living, you begin to feel something you may not have felt in a long time: lightness. It's not the lightness of having no problems, but of not being owned by them. The heavy thoughts that used to press on your chest now pass through you like soft clouds. You still feel emotions, but they no longer trap you. You still care, but you no longer cling. This is the lightness of being, the quiet joy of simply existing as you are. At first, it feels almost unreal. You wake up and notice that the same world looks different. The noise around you doesn't feel so loud. The chaos doesn't pull you in so quickly. You find small moments of peace in places you never expected, in the sound of your breath, in the warmth of a cup, in a short walk without your phone. You start to see that life was never meant to be carried like a burden. It was meant to be lived like a song. This lightness doesn't come from escaping life. It comes from being present in it. You start noticing beauty in ordinary moments, the pattern of shadows on the wall, the way sunlight touches your hand, the smell of fresh rain. These things were always there, but before, you were too busy surviving to see them. Now, you are finally awake. In this state, even your thoughts slow down. You stop arguing with yourself. The inner voice that used to criticize begins to soften. It still speaks, but now you answer it with kindness. You say, "It's okay. I'm doing my best." And that small sentence begins to heal years of self-pressure. You start realizing that the person you needed most, the one who forgives, encourages, and believes in you, has always been inside you. Try this practice. Sit quietly for 2 minutes and place your hand on your heart. Feel it beating. Say softly in English, "I am alive, and that is enough." These words may seem simple, but they're powerful. You're reminding yourself that existence itself is a gift, not a problem to solve. Every breath you take is proof that you belong here, that you still have purpose, that life still wants you. The lightness of being is not a constant state, it's a practice. Some days will feel heavy again, but now you know how to return. You return through breath, through awareness, through gentle gratitude. The more you practice, the faster you find your way back to that calm center. Even your English learning can reflect this lightness. Instead of saying, "I must be perfect," you start saying, "I'm improving." Instead of judging mistakes, you smile at them. You learn the way a child learns, playfully, openly, without shame. And that's when growth happens naturally, because pressure has finally stepped aside. When life feels light, it doesn't mean nothing matters. It means you've learned how to carry what matters gracefully. You become a walking peace, calm in chaos, grounded in movement, clear in uncertainty. And from that place, you start to notice something even more beautiful. The more peace you feel, the more peace you give. The lightness you create within yourself begins to touch others. Through your words, your presence, your calm. You become proof that letting go isn't loss. It's transformation. It's how a soul learns to breathe again. When you begin to live with that lightness, something opens wider inside you. A soft wish to give. Not because you feel you must, but because peace naturally overflows. When your heart is no longer full of fear and control, it finally has space for kindness. You start noticing people again. You see their eyes, their tiredness, their small silent hopes. And without trying, you begin to give. A smile, a kind word, a patient moment. Giving from peace feels different from giving from pressure. You no longer give to be loved. You give because you are loved. You give because it feels natural, like exhaling after a deep breath. Even the smallest act, listening without interrupting, forgiving quietly, helping without being asked, becomes a prayer in motion. This quiet joy of giving doesn't empty you. It fills you. The more you share, the more you realize that peace multiplies through presence. When you say to someone, "It's okay," you're not just calming them. You're reminding yourself that calm is always possible. When you encourage someone's English, you strengthen your own. Every kind word you speak becomes part of your own healing. Here's a gentle practice. Once a day, say one simple, sincere sentence to someone in English. "I'm proud of you. You did great. I believe in you." Watch their face. That small sentence can change an entire day. It might even save someone from giving up. You start to see that the purpose of letting go was never just about finding peace for yourself. It was about becoming peace for the world. When you are free inside, you become a safe place for others. Your calm becomes contagious. Your presence becomes medicine. And slowly, you realize that the art of letting go has turned into the art of giving. Giving light, giving hope, giving love without fear of losing it. Because love, once released freely, always returns in new and unexpected ways. As giving becomes part of your being, you start to notice that everything has come full circle. The journey that began with heaviness now ends in light. You started by holding on to fear, failure, and control. But step by step, breath by breath, you learned to open your hands. And what you thought was the end of something was really the beginning, the return to yourself. Now, you no longer search for peace as if it's far away. You carry it with you. It lives in how you walk, how you speak, how you breathe. You've learned that letting go is not about removing pain. It's about removing resistance. Pain may visit again, but now you welcome it as a teacher, not an enemy. You've discovered that peace isn't a place, it's a practice. It's the way you meet every moment. Look at how far you've come. You've learned to face fear with softness, failure with wisdom, and uncertainty with faith. You've discovered the beauty of trust and the power of surrender. You felt the quiet joy of giving. All of it has led you here, to this gentle balance between strength and peace. action and acceptance. Try this one last practice. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. Whisper in English, I am free to let go, and I am free to live. Let the words sink into you. Feel how simple they are, yet how full of truth. You don't need to chase anything anymore. You only need to stay awake to the miracle of now. When you live from this space, every word you speak, even in your English practice, carries calm, clarity, and connection. You are no longer just learning a language. You are learning a way of being. A way that says, I can trust life. I can trust myself. The art of letting go is really the art of living lightly, of walking through the world with open hands, a soft heart, and eyes that see beauty everywhere. You are not broken. You are becoming whole. You are not behind. You are exactly where peace begins.